बस यहाँ पे।
That's it.
Yes. Good evening, all, and it's indeed a pleasure to welcome you all in these 3 day series working on financial dashboard. I request office to start play ICI motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रदब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता।
Good evening, friends. Most respected Chairman of WRC, CA Saurabh Ajmera ji, under whose leadership we all are able to be impactful, and as an attempt, we curated this series for the members. As this is the 75th year of WRC, we want that we should celebrate this remarkable year with a great zeal and to be impactful amongst the membership, industry and commerce, and government as well. So we decided to have innovative programs. We request to have a shift in the mindset, adopting professional excellence, collaborative arrangements, and transformation amongst us. With that, we have devised this series, and the participation is encouraging as we are having more than 200 participants who has registered for this series. My learned friend and Vice Chairman of WRC, C. Rikin Patel, Treasurer, C. Rakesh Shah ji, and learned faculty, so far as the AI is concerned, none other than CA Tapas Rupareliya ji. We need to adopt technology in each facet of our practice, and that's why we have today topic Power Query in financial reporting. And when we talk with our learned faculty, Tapas bhai, that how should we increase our capabilities, he has given this idea of organizing this virtual series. I seen some question, I seen some question as well in the chat box that whether we required any laptop or not, or a computing equipment. Yes, friends, if you want to practice, then definitely it's better you keep the same with you. With these words, I welcome you all, and I request Treasurer of the WRC, C. Rakesh Shah ji, to give words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishan Bhai, for this opportunity. WRC Chairman, Mr. Saurabh Ajmera, absentia. Vice Chairman, Mr. Rikin Patel, Besan Bhai, Secretary WRC, and learned speaker for the day, Mr. Tapas Rupareliya. So, first of all, and all participants, first of all, welcome you all on this interesting webinar, Mastering and Making Interactive Financial Dashboard. And thank you, Besanpai, for this initiative to bring the innovative program. And we all need it, and it is a need of time since use of AI and all this automation is increasing day by day. And definitely, this all is encouraging sessions and going to be a very good session. I'm sure on that. Looking at the participation, and as you said, the more than 200 registration, and already I think almost 100 participation is a participant is already live as of now. So I can see the curiosity of the people to be part of this session. Coming to the WRC activities, you must have observed in the last 1 month under the new chairman, a young, dynamic, and chairman, I can say enthusiastic chairman of WRC. Number of program we had in the last 1 month, starting with the Capital Market Conclave, National Conference on GST, and recently concluded the banking conference with the number of participation was amazing. As far as me is concerned, myself, as of now, I'm heading the Audit and Assurance Committee, as well as Research and Exposure Draft Committee. These are the two committee where I'm a chairman. Apart from that, Corporate Mitra Committee is the third committee where I'm the vice chairman. So I'm definitely seeking your support, and if you want to be part of any initiative, as a whether you want to hold any programs or if you want to be part of any publications. So I request with your suggestions, we can definitely work together. There are various initiatives at WRC, so I'll not talk about that much of them. Definitely, one of the initiative which is very near to me is Saptarisi. So to promote the our profession, the Saptarisi is the one of the initiative where we collaborate with the various colleges and institutions, and we conduct the career counseling program. We help colleges to develop the syllabus which help us to adopt the people the CA profession. There also TAIL, which is a trained, earn and learn initiative where we train the semi-qualified people, college graduate to have the training on the commerce related areas like filing of the online returns, GST matters, and various other areas where they by which they can earn the revenue as well as at the same time we also help them to have the placement at our chartered accountants friends. So it's works as a basically win-win situation for both sides. On one side, the college graduate get the earnings, and second side, at the reasonable amount, we qualified, semi-qualified people and the new chartered accountant get the trained people. So, so these are the various initiatives are there. These are some of the initiatives I wanted to talk. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Mr.
you, Rakesh
Bhai, back to
Bhai.
you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure that member will take your benefit as accounting and auditing is our core area. And for assurance, how we can develop AI in that, your insights will be required. And we request you to have one more series, webinar series on use of AI for assurance services as well. Because if we are having interactive financial dashboard, it will not only going to help us in say in adoption of technology, but you can also give services to your clients for generating this dashboard along with management consultation as well. So thank you very much. And now
Thank you.
we are having with us our dynamic, visionary vice chairman who traveled from just now from Ahmedabad, completed the inaugural session of startup residential course at iHub, and now he's on, I guess, is on the way. But sir, your words of wisdom will be of importance, and I request you to unmute yourself and have your words of wisdom. Rikin bhai, over to you.
Thank you so much to our Power Pack Secretary of WRC, CA Bhishan Shah. I think you have been doing a commendable job in terms of designing different programs and having such wonderful program series for all our members. And in absentia, I would even like to praise our chairperson, young, dynamic, and vibrant chairperson who has taken charge, I think, 35 days back and done more than 40 programs in such a short span where he took charge. So I think kudos to the entire team for designing such amazing programs for the members and the students. Now, I would also like to introduce our faculty, CA Tapas Rupareliya sir. I think a few days back he was at Vadodara also for one of our AI conferences, and I think it is always a pleasure having him. So, and he needs no introduction so far as AI is concerned, but as a part of respect and protocol, I would just briefly introduce Tapas bhai. So CA Tapas Rupareliya is a chartered accountant as well as the company secretary, and having experience of over 15 years. He holds specialization in indirect taxes. He holds a DISA degree as well and a MCOM and a law graduate. He leads a technology and IDT consulting practice, recognized as a global top 50 tech professional and ICI Hackathon Season 4 runner up. I think I was part of that, following that hackathon, and I've seen him, I think, with amazing tools. And with that few words, I would like to welcome Tapas Bhai and
Thank you.
request Tapas Bhai, I think, to take charge, or Bishan Bhai, you want to
Yes.
say something?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you so much that you are also one of the person for curating this series, as when we were there at Baroda and while coming back to Ahmedabad, we just had an interaction, and Tapas bhai uh, ably guided for curating this series. So credit goes to you as well, Rikin bhai. And as we have discussed earlier, that financial dashboard is very much important, and with the advent of technology, interactive financial dashboard is quite need of an hour. So Tapas bhai, thank you very much for accepting the invitation, helping us in curating the same. And I also like to inform the participant that for these 2 days when we are having Power Query and Power BI, then last day we are also having CA Vishal Gandhi and Tapas bhai with us. So we will try to develop projects, and we will help our participants in developing these interactive financial tools as well. So Tapas bhai, welcoming you here, and
Thank you.
the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So, before starting at the outset, would like to thank Chairman in absentia, Saurabh Ajmera ji, uh, Rikin bhai, thank you for the wonderful introduction. Vice Chairman, sir, uh, Rakesh ji, Treasurer, sir, thank you very much for highlighting the WRC initiatives. And uh, the Secretary CA Vishen Shah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for having me. And as very rightly said, I think uh, there was a session at Baroda where I was actually speaking on something around Excel. And while on our way back, we were discussing, and Vishen Bhai was very quick enough to say that let's do something on a mixture of Power BI versus Power Query or something related to financial dashboards. And he just kept asking me the questions, and based on the answers, I think he was very quick enough to dial the calls in WRC, and the batch was launched immediately. So kudos to his, being always on the spot, and being that always taking that initiative to have wonderful programs for everyone. So thank you. Thanks a lot again, Vishen Bhai. Uh, Today's session, what we are going to do is, as Vishen Bhai also rightly mentioned, that we are going to cover Power Query today. I'll quickly share my screen. For the moment, I'll share the entire screen. I hope that's visible. Sir, my screen is visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Some
So
members
as
has a query that voice is low, but I don't think so. I'm able to hear it properly. However, if
okay,
you
I'll try to speak a
yes,
little louder.
yeah, please, please.
I hope this should be okay. So as Vishen Bhai said, we are going to cover 3 days in this entire series. Today is going to be a hardcore Power Query, and as and when we progress towards today's session and tomorrow also, when you see Power BI's basics, you will realize what is the importance of Power Query and why. Uh, when we are moving on to the end goal is to build financial dashboards, why have we included Power Query, a singular session, a full day, a full 3 hour session on Power Query. Will as and when we progress with today's as well as tomorrow's session, you'll realize that Power Query is a simply said, it's a extraction, transformation, and load tool. We call it an ETL tool, uh, extraction, transformation, and load, as I said. What happens with extraction, transformation, and load is that you have an interim software somewhere sitting between your source data and something where you want to load data. Power Query helps you to take data out of some sources that it supports. It helps you do a lot of transformation, and then it helps you load somewhere. Somebody had asked a question as to whether we need any specific software for this particular exercise. Today, we are going to focus on using Power Query within Excel. So yes, while Power BI is something that is going to get covered tomorrow. So if you want to work along tomorrow with the faculty, we have a very able faculty who is an expert in Power BI. So if you want to work along tomorrow, you will need Power BI installed in your system, and it's very easy to get that. If you have Windows and Office version installed with you, even if you have, I think, Office 2021, not Office 2000, Office 365, you can still have Power BI installed into your system. For today, I think Excel is sufficient. Power Query was introduced way back in 2010 in Microsoft Excel as an add-in, and in the subsequent versions of Excel, it was inbuilt only. So unless you are using, say, Microsoft Excel 2007 version, you will not have access to Power Query. But if you are using, say, Office 2016 or 2021 or even Office 365, you will have a full-fledged access of Power Query within Excel itself, right? So Power Query is basically available in four different sources. There is Microsoft Excel, and which is something that I'm going to show tomorrow. When you see Power BI, again you will have to go through the same Power Query route only, but this time you will be opening your Power BI app where you will be accessing Power Query. And then Power Query is also available in Microsoft Azure and the Microsoft Dataverse Power Platform ecosystem, which I believe is not really important for what we'll be discussing today, tomorrow, and the day after. As I was saying, Power Query is a data transformation and preparation engine with a graphical interface. The era in which we are living in right now, even before the generative AI came in November 2022, there was a lot of uh, progress in terms of using no code and low code tools. Now, what is a no code and low code tool? It simply means that it's a tool where you don't have to write any code, you don't have to know a lot of programming, and you can just click on the interface and get your work done. put it very simply, you are using Microsoft Excel, you are just copy pasting a table, you are using some formula, etc. That is something called a no code tool for you. But the moment you shift onto using macros into Excel, that becomes a low code tool, because while you can go and directly write the VBA macro, you can also just record the entire process that you want to do. And when you are recording that process, the code is being written by Microsoft Excel or the respective Microsoft application uh, by itself. You don't have to write the code, which is known as a low code solution, where actually the coding happens, but you are not really concerned about the coding. Same is the case with Power Query. And as in when we progress, you will realize that using Power Query is somewhat, I mean, in my view, once you get a hack of it, you start using it more and more. You will realize that Power Query is at most of the places, and for most of the complex parts of main Excel that you do, most of that part, I think Power Query is something that eases up a lot of work. I see a lot of questions. I'll very quickly see. Okay, I think at the start of the session only everybody is interested in whether you would get the PPT and whether you would get the recording or not. Uh, Nevertheless, I would suggest the participants pay attention to what is being discussed right now, and it's nothing, something that's not available on the internet. But I'll try and see if I can share the presentation. But whoever is present, my request to you is to be fully be available for this session live with me. If you are able to practice with me, I'll also share I'll upload the practice files that I have, and I'll try to share those files as well along with you. You can try doing it with me, or later on also you can do. My only request from you for the next 2.5 hours would be to just be with me uh, and try to just follow along what I'm saying. It's only the Excel interface that we are going to use. There's no rocket science that we are going to, do, which you might need recording in future. I leave that up to the WRC. But I think what I would suggest is to just pay attention and follow along. I think you don't have to even look at the recordings once you are out with this session. We are going to cover all the basics, which would be very relevant for you going ahead in your career. With me, if you are all with me and you want me to start with the practical demonstration of a lot of stuff, very interesting stuff, just say yes on the chat and we'll go along. I think in case of webinars, when I'm not able to, see the audience, it's really difficult to gauge as to whether the audience is with you or not and whether they're following or not. So after certain moments, I'll ask you to put your responses onto the chat, and that would help me understand whether you guys are following with me or not. Thank you everyone for the response. The presentation shows exactly the same things that are available onto the Power Query window. So what I'll do is I'll quickly jump onto the Excel interface, and let me just hide this. Yeah. So this is a normal Excel that you normally witness whenever you open an Excel workbook, right? This is the simple Excel interface that you are used to see. Now, uh, if you have done Power Query, you know how to get to it. But I think most of the audience would be someone who has only ever heard of Power Query, but have never really tried to use it, because I think the first problem that anybody and everybody faces is to search for Power Query, as to where Power Query is situated into the entire MS Excel that I say. And even for, uh, let me see if I can open Power BI as well. Yeah. So till the time my Power BI window opens, if you see in the ribbon that you have and the file tool buttons that you have, in that there is something called data. And this is something that we normally use. We come to the data tab, but we always choose to ignore these first few options. We try to go to sort, and if most of the people know those shortcuts, they don't try to apply sorts and filter from here. But this is something, this text to columns or remove duplicates or find errors into the data validations, and filtering is something that we come to this data tab for. We simply choose to ignore these initial functions that are available in Excel. This, my friends, is something that takes you to Power Query. This is the door that takes you to Power Query. Just these functions themselves are not Power Query, but what you see right now here, the different functions that you have is a door, is a gateway for you to get into Power Query. Now, if you see here, the first thing is get data, and then after that, it's self-explanatory from text or CSV file, from web, from table, from a picture, from some recent sources, or some existing connections. Now, what are these? So I'll just quickly click on get data. And the moment you click on get data, this is something which is new. If you click on the first option that is available, that is the get data preview, it actually opens the entire bunch of connections that Power Query supports. So it's not that you have to have a data onto your Excel sheet to get any data in Power Query. Your data may be lying anywhere, and people who might have done some courses, etc., or have been using Tally, you know that there is also a connection. You establish some ODBC connection through Tally and get the data into Excel. That's nothing but happening through the Power Query connection itself. It's not necessary that you import data through Power Query and then you have to apply some transformations also on Power Query. If your data is coming in a structured format, you don't want to make any changes to the data, you can straight away load the data into Excel. You may not have ever thought of doing any transformation onto your data. But if you see all the sources that are available, Power Query supports Excel, text CSV, XML files, JSON files, SQL servers, even PDF. If you have structured data onto your PDF, you can get the data into Power Query. If you have some tables in a PDF file, you can straight away import it into Power Query. You need not use those PDF converters or any other tools to have your data put into Excel, right? And time permitting will also cover something where we can directly scrape the data from a website onto Power Query. We can directly establish a connection with a website. Anytime and every time a table gets updated on a particular website, your data is also going to get updated onto Power Query. So what Power Query essentially is, as I said at the start, it is an extraction, transformation, and load tool. The step that I'm discussing right now is the extraction portion. So I can extract data into Power Query from so many platforms that are available that you can see on my screen right now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Excel and I am going to select this particular uh, folder that I have. I'm just going to uh, press enter and then and I can see the files that I have. For our exercise purpose, I have some amount of data. I'm just importing the first sample data that I have. The moment I click my Excel file, you saw something called connecting appear on my screen. And now the screen that appears is just the door that has been opened. It's still not Power Query. You are still not inside the room where Power Query is situated right now. You are just standing at the gate, deciding whether you want to go into Power Query or not. If your data is in a properly structured manner, then you may not be required to actually go into the data. But what I'm seeing right now is that the data is there. I can see the headers are below and I can see the names of the columns, etc. I feel that there might be some changes that I may want to make to this data. What is happening right now here is on the left hand side, the workbook that I have selected, it is showing me all the different sheets that are available in that particular workbook. I can select any of the sheets. You can select at the basic level, when you are importing data into Power Query, you have to mandatorily select one of the sheets that you would want to import. If you feel that the data which is showing in the preview right now, when you select a workbook, whatever is appearing in your screen right now just shows you the name of the sheets that are available and also the preview of the data. This is not the complete set of data. It is only showing you the preview just so that you can understand whether you want to do a transformation or you want to straight away load the data. Now, I don't want to straight away load the data into Excel. I want to do some amount of transformation. So I'm clicking on transformation. I am deciding to move ahead uh, from the gate and enter into the room where Power Query is, enter into the world of Power Query. And now what you are seeing on the screen is the window of Power Query. Is everybody following? Are you all with me? Okay, you want the sheets right now? Let me quickly upload that and I'll share that immediately. Just sharing, stopping the screen share for a second. I'll just create a new folder, push all the files, uh, and naming it as Power Query demo for WRC session. Yep, the folder is created. I'm uploading all the files to it. Okay, done. I have uploaded it onto uh, the Google Drive and it is open. No, sharing has been stopped. Ashwini ji, I was just opening my Google Drive to just to ensure my privacy. I stopped my screen sharing because the entire screen was shared. I'm sharing it again. I have pasted the link of the Google Drive where I have saved the data. Would request all the participants not to write anything onto the chat window right now so that everybody is able to look at the uh, is able to look at the link that I have provided and everybody is able to download the file. Somebody is still saying that the voice is low. Let me try to be a little louder. Uh, Pratima ji, please confirm if you are able to hear me properly. Can Darpan ji is saying that he is not able to access the folder. Okay, Namrata ji, thank you very much for confirming that my voice is audible. I have uploaded this file and let me check what is the shares. Yeah, anybody with the link can open this. Somebody has said they are not able to access the Google Drive. Can somebody confirm if you are able to access the Google Drive and are able to download the data? Can download. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Please don't uh, write more. I'll just share the link again so that it's not buried under the. Yes, there are 4 files available. Yep, there's a mock PR which is just for the. Oh, Darpanji, then if you can't have the access of Google Drive, maybe you'll have to use it through your personal laptop or something. Uh, anyway, so no, there's no other way. I cannot. If you are if your laptop has an access issue, I don't think so. There's any other way where I will be able to provide you the data. Let's quickly jump on to the exercise. Thank you. I think most of them are saying that the voice is okay. If you're still feeling that the voice is low, I would request you to try to increase the volume of your speaker. Uh, Perfect. So we are here into the Power Query window. There are a lot of options. The interface is quite similar to what you are used to looking at when you are using Excel, but slightly different. It has the same file and options, but if you see, there are very limited number of options that are mentioned here. Then, importantly, what is different with normally you see in this Excel is that you have your sheet. You don't have something which you can see on the left hand side of the window right now, as well as something on the right hand side. Now, what are these? So on the left hand side of my screen, what you see is the list of different queries that you might have created. So you might have uploaded multiple files. Every time you upload a file, it is imported as a query onto the Power Query. And if you upload another file after this particular file, you will be able to see that particular query also here. Right now, I have uploaded only one file, so it is showing me one query. This window is something that shows you the preview of your data. It shows you how your data is going to look, whether it's proper or not. You see a lot of null values, etc., so on and so forth. This is something that you can quickly glance through and apply whatever transformations you want. This is for your reference. And The most important is on the left hand side, where you see the different steps. If you are, if you have seen the macros in an Excel, the various code that is being written into a Excel when you create a macro, these steps are something similar to what you do. And I'll get onto these steps in a while. But this is what the entire Power Query window is, and entire interface is. These are the different functions that are available, and we are going to cover as many functions as possible today so that you can use Power Query to the fullest. Even if you don't want to use Power Query, we'll see most of the examples today where the Power Query that you are going to use would easily help you to perform your Excel function. So while you can use Power Query to make those transformations, which ultimately go into Power BI and help you prepare dashboards. But even if you don't want to do that and you want to have your repeated transformations right from Power Query into Excel so that your repeated Excel work is automated, I think that is something that we are going to address today. The last point is that just like you see a formula bar in Microsoft Excel, this is where the entire code is being written. So in Excel, when you write a formula or when you record a macro, the code that is being written is in the language called VBA. I would request if somebody can, if you are aware, please mention. Okay, the file that I've opened right now is the data one file out of the four files that I have uploaded. The first file, which is called the data one file, is something that I have opened onto my screen. That is the file that you can open. Power Query is free to use if you have Excel above, say, 2016 or above. If you have Microsoft Office 2016, if you have Microsoft Office 2021, if you have Office 365, Power Query is free for you to use. Just like Excel, it is available within Excel only. If you can see the data tab, you will be able to see whatever I just showed to you. So I would want to ask the audience if you are able to see this formula bar or not. Are you able to see this formula bar onto your screen? If there is someone who is not able to see the formula bar, then you will have to come to this last tab, which is View tab. You have to come to this View tab and you click on this formula bar. If it is unticked, the formula bar disappears. If you see, my formula bar has just disappeared from here. If I click on this formula bar, it is in the Power Query window from home to transform to add column, and then the last is view. In this View tab, I am able to see the formula bar. What I was saying is that whatever is written here, all of us are aware that when you write a macro in an Excel, it is written in the language called VBA, which is Visual Basic Applications. Can somebody tell me which language is this? What is the whatever commands you are able to see here? I simply really don't understand, but there is something that is written here. What is the language that Microsoft uses in Power Query? Can somebody tell me? And the hint to it is that it is a single letter. Perfect, Series G. Thank you very much. It is M language that Microsoft uses. It is DAX is covered in Power BI. When you are using Power Query, whatever you are seeing in the formula bar, the entire query that is being written into Power Query, that is being written into M language. It is more towards natural language, similar to Python. VBA is something that's little more complicated, although it's not as complicated as the other low-level languages. But as compared to VBAs, the M language is sort of using all those words which we use in natural English or a plain English language so that you are able to easily understand that. There are a couple of people who are saying that they missed the steps to get into Power Query. So what I'm going to do is I am closing my Power Query. I am discarding what I have done. I am on to the uh, Excel. Dhruv ji and other peoples who mentioned that they have not been able to get into the Power Query window, I am showing it afresh, taking another minute. In your Excel, window, open a blank Excel sheet, and within that Excel workbook or that Excel sheet, you can see the data tab. In the data tab, you have to select on get data and then select get data from file. There are various options available. You can select Excel workbook, TXT file, XML, JSON. You can even select a folder. If there is a folder which has multiple files and all the files are in the exact same format, then you can simply select the folder and you can get all the files from the same folder at one go, stacked one below the another. But that's a little advanced step which we'll get into at a later stage. You select on get data from file and select Excel workbook. Now I gave you four files. Out of those four files, you have to select the first file, which is a data one tab, which is around 9 MB file. You just have to click on import and you will see this window, which is the gateway to Power Query. In that, out of the five sheets, I am right now selecting a fact internet sales. That's the name of the sheet. I am selecting this particular sheet and I am clicking on transform data. I'm clicking on transform data. I hope Yeah, so we are into this Power Query window. Now, what I was explaining is that there are different functions that are available. On the left-hand side, you see a list of the queries. In the middle of your screen, you can see the uh, preview window where you can see the preview of your data. And on the right hand side, there is something that is called the steps that are being applied. So now coming to the steps, we were discussing what language it is and what are the steps that have been taken. I have not done actually anything till now. What I have done is I've gone to the data tab. I have I went into get data, I selected get data from file, I selected the Excel workbook. From that Excel workbook, I selected the Excel sheet, and then I just clicked on transform data. And then I see that there are three steps that are already applied. I have actually not taken any step in the Power Query window. After I came inside Power Query, I have not taken any step. Then why these three steps are here? So if you see the first step mentioned here is the source step. Now, what do we mean by the source step? It is recording the exact step that I took to select that particular file. I gave a path to Power Query, and from that path, from that particular folder saved at XPath, there was this file which was saved, which I had selected. So if I double click on the source, it shows me that this is the path. It is my D drive. In that there is a Power Query folder. In that there is a practice file folder, and the data.xlsx is the file that I have selected. If I want to change the file, I need not go back and repeat the entire step of going to the data tab, selecting get data, and then selecting the file. I can straight away click on browse and I can select some other file if I want to. Right now, I don't want to, but if let's say there are 2 months, I have files of 2 months saved in the same folder. By mistake, I opted for the first file and I did everything and I realized that I wanted to do this on the other file. If the format of both the files was same, if the column headers were the same and more structurally the data was same, it doesn't matter whether the line items were different. If one file may have 1 lakh line items and the other file may have tens of thousands only, but still you can just change the source and all the steps that you have applied subsequently would get applied to the new file itself. So that is the first step. Even if I didn't come to Power Query, but in order to extract the file, as I mentioned at the start, Power Query is an extraction, transformation, and load. Right now, I have not done any transformation onto my file, but I have taken the steps necessary to extract the file. I have extracted the data from that Excel file that was lying onto my system. So when I did that file, I selected that file, the data was brought into this Excel file. The data was copied from the source file into this new file. It's not working on the original file. The data file that you have saved onto your system, that I have saved onto my system, when I'm going to get data and I'm selecting an Excel file, I'm selecting an Excel file to get the data. That data gets imported into the Excel sheet where I am following these steps of Power Query. It is not on the source sheet. So it has brought the data from this sheet, which is lying onto this folder. The name of the sheet is data one. And that is the first step. Now, what is the second step? Simple. After selecting the Excel workbook, what I did, I selected the sheet. I selected the last sheet. So this is what it is showing me that in the navigation. After you selected the workbook, within the different sheets that were available, you selected the last sheet that was named as Fact Internet. In this case also, if I realize later on that I want to change the sheet that I'm using, I can just simply select any of the other sheets. But if I have applied different steps and all my sheets are in different formats, then that is going to fail my entire automation, the entire process that I have done. If in the middle way I'm changing a step, I have to ensure that my structure of the files is the same. So if I am changing the source, or if source workbook, or if I'm changing the navigation, which is if I'm changing the Excel sheet within the Excel workbook, I have to ensure that my data in all these sheets remains the same. If there are subsequent steps, right now, as such, there are no other steps. There is a change type step, which I'll come to later on, but these are the only initial step. At the initial stage, I can do whatever I want. But if I have done a lot of processes which we are going to do right now, in that case, I should not ideally be changing the sheets if my data is different, right? So I just click on cancel. The third thing that has happened is it has changed the data type automatically. It is not relevant as of now because the headers of my file are currently not in a proper format. Hence, I'm not getting into this change type, and this it is an unnecessary step that Power Query has taken. But it's okay. I think we'll leave it at that as of now. Just a quick check. Everybody is able to follow. We are all here till now. How this Excel workbook open? Can you repeat? This Excel workbook, I have pasted the link of the folder. I pasted the link of the folder onto the chat. I'm pasting it again. There are four Excel files. The first file, that is the data one file, is something that you have to download. You have to go into your Excel. You have to click on the data tab. You have to click on get data. You have to select Excel, and then come to this particular step. In the interest of time, I am moving ahead, and I'm for just sake of people who would have joined last or have missed the link of the folder, I'm giving the link of this folder. Done? Everybody with me? Uh, Let me very quickly see. Yeah, we have imported the data. Now, uh, yeah, what we were looking at is this is what we have done in my presentation. Now, what I'm going to do is let me go into the presentation mode. If you see, there are different types of data that have been mentioned on my screen, which is something that Power Query supports. Now, what are the different types of data that is available in Power Query? The first is called text. This text contains simply the textual data, which can either contain alphabets as well as numbers, either together or only alphabets. If it's an only number, then it would ideally be a whole number or a fixed decimal. But if it is either alphabets with or without number, then it is a part of text. If you have a data with decimal numbers, but the decimal numbers are not fixed, for example, say you have some values might have two decimals, some values might have four, some might have five, six decimals. In that case, you select the data type as decimal numbers. But if you want to fix your decimal numbers into, say, two digits, then you select this particular data type in Power Query. And we are going to look at all the practical aspects onto the data that we are looking at. But compare it with Excel, where you are actually, I'll open a new, probably, I have to close my Power Query in order to open that. Yeah, let's leave it at that for a moment. What I was trying to say is that in Excel, if there are, let's say you have tens of decimals, then there is an option at the top where you can decrease the decimal. What happens is, with Excel is that it is only truncating the decimals in the cell that is visually available to you, right? The actual decimals are not disappearing. If you double click on it, if you press F2, or if you look at the formula bar, you can see that those 10 decimals are still available. It's just that the Excel stops displaying decimal digits more than two. In case of Power Query, when you select the fixed decimal type, your decimals get truncated to whatever number of fixed decimal that you select, and the remaining number of decimals are actually eliminated from the data. It's not only just showing you the reduced amount of decimals, it is actually removing the entire decimal. Similarly, if you select a whole number, then all the decimals disappear, and based on the nearby logic, it will round up or round down the number. Then there is something called data type, date, which is available. So the simple dates that we see onto an Excel file, that is date that you would have seen. And many of you would have struggled with Excel in terms of, always seeing that whenever somebody sends you a data, while they may have had the data into their proper format when the data was extracted, the column would have contained the data into a date format. But when it comes to you, it changes the format and you are able to see those random numbers. So if a cell which contains the file in a date format, if you change the format of the data to something else, then it behaves weirdly. It doesn't show you the date properly. If you convert it into number, for example, then it shows you a number starting from 4150 something, right? It shows you a 4 to 5 digits number, which is actually something that the Excel calculates. If there is a date which is mentioned on the in the Excel's in a particular cell, and if you convert that cell into a number or text, then Excel calculates the date, I believe, from 1st of January 1900 to the date that you have mentioned and displays the number. It is not a random number that Excel displays. It actually wanted to display the date, but because you have changed the format of the date, it is showing you that random number onto your screen. So this is also something important. And when you go to Power BI, you will realize what is the importance of having a proper data type for each and every column. I'll give you a simple example. If I have to perform a sum function, can I perform a sum function on uh, a text type of data? Can I add ABC with 1, 2, 3? If I have one column which is in the ABC format, and if I have another column which has 1, 2, 3, can I make an addition? The answer is no. Even if my data is in numbers, so if my data says 1, 2, 3, but if I have formatted my data as text, and I'm telling my program, which is Power Query right now, that this is text, it is not a number. Although you can see the numeric values, you can see 1, 2, 3, it is a text. It is a text format that you have to save it as. If it doesn't show it, store it as a number format, it doesn't perform those mathematical functions, right? Similarly, if I have to prepare a visual calendar, then I have to have dates. If I have just numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there is no month, there is no year, etc. It's not in a proper date format. I cannot create a visualization of calendar. When you go to Power BI, you will see that there are various visualizations that you can create with date types. Also, you can create calendars, you can create a difference between dates, you can create all those progressive charts considering when the growth of the sales, if you want to see over the a period of 12 months, unless and until your data is properly bifurcated into the proper months and dates, you will not be able to create those visuals onto Power BI. So it is very essential to ensure that the data type in Power Query are mentioned properly. Okay, we'll quickly go to now our Power Query window and see what is the data types that is available. I'll just zoom my screen. If you see the first one, it says ABC 1, 2, 3. I can see here also. If you see on the top of your screen in the home tab, I can see the data type. Here also it says any. Just like when you book a cab on Ola, whether it's a mini you want or whether you want a prime version or you want an XL version, so on and so forth, you just click send me any cab, I am in a hurry. Similar to that, right now it is saying that it is any data. I don't know what kind of data is there because I can also see text and I can also see numbers. Here also I can see text and I can also see dates as well. Hence, I'm not able to actually make out what your data is. So the data type right now that has been allotted is any. So Power Query has an inbuilt function as to after any step, if it feels that at the first time when you do this source and navigation, this is an inbuilt functionality in Power Query that it assigns the data type. I can remove this data type step right now. It is not relevant for me. Whether I remove it or not, it as such doesn't make a difference. So what I'm going to do is I am going to remove that step for now because it's not really relevant for me. Now let's see some different types of transformations that are available in Power Query. The first and foremost is that in Power Query, you can't simply just cut and paste the data. If you feel that this column is not proper, you can't just select the entire uh, you can just select this entire row and then just replace the columns. That's not how Power Query works. You have to use the interface that is available onto the bar at the top. There is a home tab, there is a transform tab, there is a add column tab, and last is a view tab. Most of the functions that you want would be in the home tab or transform tab. Uh, and there is also something called add column tab, and I'll explain to you the difference between add column and transform. Home tab is where all the general functions are situated. And when I was saying that Power Query is no code and a low code software, this is something that this is the first example that I will give. If I were to do this automatically in Excel, I might have had to write a complex formula, or I might have had to, do it manually. If I do something manually one time, every time I get a new Excel file, I will have to repeat that process unless and until it is formula driven. So in order to change the uh, header into my file, if I wanted to do it in an automated format, I might have made a macro, or I might have made a complex formula, or I might be doing it on a repeated basis every time I receive a similar kind of file. Whereas in Power Query, as I said, there are various steps available. And while there are different, this is the M language code that is written here. I don't know this M language, and I also need not know that, because the way Power Query has been made, the way it has been created, it is made for those non-developers who can simply interact with the user interface and make those changes. So the first function that we are going to see right now is to promote the headers. So in the Home tab, there is a button called use first row as headers. If you see in the home tab, just right besides my home tab, all of you, if you are in the Power Query window, you will be in this home tab. Somewhere in the middle, you will see this option called use first rows as header. Just pay attention what happens when I click this. I click on this use first rows as header, and done. All my headers are now uh, updated. And if you see, there are two steps again added here. The first is promote headers, because this is what I did. I used the first rows as header. I promoted my first row as header. So that is the first step. And now Power Query realized that, oh, now you, since you have updated the headers, now the data below the headers, almost all the data seems to be in a consistent format. So now let me again change the data type, and it has gone ahead and changed the data type. Now let us see what it is doing, what it has done with the data type. I'll zoom in my screen. Yeah. The first is the product key. If you see, there are only numbers and these are only whole numbers. So my data type has been changed to symbolic 1, 2, 3. And if I see at the top, I can see that the data type has been changed to whole number. And the different types of data types that I had just shown to you is something that is available here. The decimal number, currency, whole number, percentage, date, time, duration, text, true or false, etc. Right? All the different data types that you just saw on my slide is something that is available right here. You just have to click on this data type and see the drop down, and you will see what are the different types of data types that Power Query supports, right? But anyways, the intelligence that Power Query has used, while I will not be using any sort of AI today, you will see that there are a lot of inbuilt functionalities within Power Query itself, which the way it has been made, it is using its own intelligent functionalities to make all these changes, right? So the first column, it has changed to number. Now, if you see the next three columns are having date, order date, due date, shipping date. So yes, the data is having those calendar-like symbol. If I select this particular column, and if you see here, the data type is available as date. Okay. Then let us move ahead to some other column which would have something else as well. Yeah. Here, if you see in this particular column, it is a combination of letters as well as numbers. So when I select this particular column, it says text. It doesn't say any, it says text. So as I said earlier, is that if it is only alphabets or alphabets plus number, it is going to convert that data type into text, which is a correct way. Earlier, it was showing any because my first row was having only text data and the rows thereafter were having numeric data. So it was saying that there are two types of data types that is available onto your different columns, and I'm not able to make out which is the predominant one. So I'm saying it may be any type of data. Now that it is knowing that there is a consistent type of data, it is having a combination of letters and numbers. It has confidently said that this data type is this data type is text, right? Let me see if there is something. Yeah. Now here, if you see, this is the this particular column has data in decimals. So therefore, yeah, here you can see if I click on this column, the data type has been changed to decimal number, right? So on and so forth. So these are the basic data types that has happened just by clicking on one simple tab, that is promote headers. My entire uh, data seems to have been sorted for the most of it. I can see, yes, a lot of data is okay for me. Now, if I have to, let's say, import another sheet from my data that is available, I want to import another sheet from my data. There are two ways of doing that. I can either add the data right from a Power Query. I can add the data right from the Power Query window, or the simple way is to uh, click on close and load. You may not be required to do it along with me. And if you want to do or try it with me, you can do that. You can click on close and load. At least basic of my data is ready. Now I want this data to get loaded into Excel. You can straight away click on the top button, or you can just, if you want to see what are the options available, there are different options available here. The first is close and load, and then the second is close and load to. I'll come to the second option a little later. The first option is close and load. The moment I click on close and load, the fresh Excel sheet which was open in front of me, where I had gone into get data and import the file, that is where this data is going to get imported. So what happened? Yeah, I think I was opening that blank Excel workbook which has opened. I'll just quickly close that. So this is where my data has been uploaded. So if you see, we have performed the entire cycle of extraction of data. We extracted the data from another Excel sheet. We did very small amount of transformation. We did the transformation step, and then we loaded the data. Now here is a very important aspect of Power Query. If you are working within Excel, you can only load the data onto Excel only. I'm repeating again, if you are using Power Query, while I said that Power Query is an extraction, transformation, and load tool, it gives you it gives you a way to import data from multiple sources. It has connection to almost all the sources that we saw at the start. It can do a lot of transformation, and we are going to see a lot of transformation also today. But when it comes to loading, if you have opened Power Query from Power BI, as I said, you can have, see, this is the window of Power Query also. I'm just clicking on a new data. Similar to that Excel that we saw, I can click on get data, get on Excel workbook, and let's say I'll just paste the exact same path that I did earlier. I'll click on data. While this interface is a little different, and this is something that you are going to learn tomorrow, I'm just trying to show that once I am into the Power Query window, almost everything, this the gateway that I had shown earlier also, the gateway also is almost the same. I'm clicking on this fact internet, I'm clicking on transform data. And if you see when it goes into the Power Query window, it is exactly the same. Just this button is something that's slightly different because it shows you that if you close this, it is showing a logo which is similar to Power BI. Otherwise, if you see the entire interface, apart from the difference between just the colors, the entire interface is almost the same. The only thing is that you have sources option here, which I was not able to find in Excel, but otherwise, all the other options that you see remains the same when it comes to Power BI as well. And this was only just for demonstration purpose. So I'll just close this Power Query window. Yeah. So when you open Power Query in Power BI, you do the exact same process of extraction, you do the exact same process of transformation. But when you click on load, the data gets loaded onto Power BI, not anywhere else. When you do the same thing in Excel, the data gets loaded into MS Excel, not anywhere else. You can choose not to load the data into Excel and just keep it safe for some other functions that we'll cover later on. But if you are loading the data, if you're clicking on close and load, then the data is going to get loaded on Excel. You can't say that I am extracting, say there were different options. If I go to get data and I go to get preview, let's say there is an option of SQL database or even a SAP HANA database, right? You can say that I will extract the data from SAP HANA into Power Query. I will do the transformation and then I will again load onto SAP HANA. That is something that does not ideally happen with Power Query. The data gets loaded. If you have opened the Power Query in Excel, the data gets loaded finally into Excel. And if you have opened it into Power BI, the data gets loaded into Power BI. With me, everyone, till now? Make sense? We have done the ETL process till now. We'll again go back into the Power Query window and we'll try to see a lot of different functions. So I'm again going into get data from file, and in fact, probably I can click on this recent sources as well. So it will show me this particular file that I have opened. See, there are different recent sources. Whatever I would have done in my Power Query, all those recent sources appear here, right? So instead of going to get data and navigating through that file, if there is something that I very recently opened, I can click on this recent sources and I can select my data. In fact, there is an existing connection also that has been established, but that's only with respect to the particular sheet. So if I want to get the same sheet data again and do some other modifications, I can use this existing connection. But for now, I will select that recent source. I will click on connect to the data one tab, and again it will show me that window where it will show me different data. And now there is a sheet called uh, dim customer, right? So I will click on dim customer and I will click on the transform tab. I've clicked on transform tab. So now my second sheet will also get imported. Yeah, Rajeshji, that recent source was available in the data tab within the Excel only. If I go back to Excel, I'll show it to you. But right now, just be with me and see whatever transformation, etc., that I'm doing onto my screen right now. Okay, so now I have a fresh amount of data. So as I was showing earlier, if you have imported different files within your Excel, there are different queries that you have created. There are different functions that you have created. In that case, what you can do, I mean, what would happen is the first time when I had imported the first sheet, this was the first query that was created, and this was the second query. I can go back and I can also change the name of the query. I can just instead of that fact internet sales, I can say uh, sales data. And next time when I close and load this data, it is going to load as a sales data sheet onto my Excel file. Similarly, this which says dim customer, I will change the name at customer data and I'll just say okay. If you see, just like it did for the previous sales data, it has done the exact same thing for the current data as well. There is this source step, there is this navigation step, there is then promoted headers, and then there is a change type. Does change the data type onto the screen, right? Now, let us perform some different functions. We'll see the first option as find and replace. So there is a column in my data which says gender. Okay. There is a column in my data which says something called gender. Now, what I want to do is I want to change the M to male and F to female. Okay. I want anything and everything. If the gender is appearing as F, I want to change it at female. And if my gender is appearing as M for a particular row, I want to change it as male. Right. So what I'll do is I will click on this column header where it is written gender. I will right click on it, and I'm able to see a lot of options here, right? I'll just do it again. I am right clicking on this and I'm seeing a lot of options here. The option somewhere in the middle that I see is something called replace values. The same option is also available here. That's the beauty of Power Query. When you click on a particular column, the various functions that you can ideally perform with the function is available there itself. You don't have to search for that relevant function in the data tab. This replace values is something that's available. The replace values is something that's available here as well. But if I want to just quickly see what are the different what are the different functions that I can apply to this particular column, these are all available here. I'll click on this replace values, and just like the interface that we are used to looking at in our Excel, Word, PowerPoint, you press Control F and then you go to this replace option. You just mention what you want to replace and what you want to replace it with. So I say I will replace M with male. Done. I'll click on OK and nothing happened. Why nothing happened? Because Power Query is very, very sensitive. What is it sensitive to? It is case sensitive. If you see, my data has capital M, whereas in my step, if you see, I had written a small m. I did a mistake. What will I do? I have two options. Either I can cancel this step, again go to replace value and put the capital M, or the better option is if I realize there is a mistake, I will double click on the last step that I did. I will change this small m to capital M and I'll click on OK. Now, if you see, my data has changed from male to female. Sorry, M to male. Now, I'll again click on this. I'll go to replace values. I'll click on the capital F and I will change female. Now, if I'm making a mistake, I'm not selecting the capital F. I can again, as I said, I can open that step and I can make the changes. But now that we've already done that, I'm replacing the F to female and everything is done. Right. So the two steps that I perform, the first step is replacing M with male and replacing F with female. That is done. So this is a functionality called uh, replace values. Okay. Varunji, in this particular sheet, the customer sheet, the data was there properly available only. If you see, I will click on close and load tab and I will show you the source file. Um, Yeah, so this is the source file. If you see in the in this file, why it did not happen is that here the data was not coming in properly. If you see in this particular sheet, intentionally I had put some columns which were having numbers as the headers, and the data was gibberish there. Because of these particular columns, it did not promote the headers automatically because it was not able to find that kind of pattern in those last columns, which is why it did not promote the headers. When I come to customers, a very good observation made by Varunji here. In this case, it automatically promoted the headers. Why did it promote the headers? Because the entire data is in a proper structured format. It intelligently understood that the first row that is available here seems to be the header, whereas the data below it seems to be in a proper format. Therefore, it is able to perform that additional step where it has automatically promoted the headers, right? In the earlier file, intentionally, I had mentioned those headers incorrectly, and I had added some blank data onto that entire last 4 to 5 columns, so that Power Query is not able to find any particular pattern, and therefore it is not able to promote those headers. But I had to click on promoted headers, and then it happened in the new file. Which sheet, Nimishaji? Whether it was this same sheet, customer data you are trying to talk about, there might have been some change that would have happened by the time you open that file. If it is the exact same file that I have given it to you, and you follow the exact same step, you go to get data, you go to this Excel file, and you select the dim customer sheet. It is going to promote headers automatically because the data is actually in a proper format. If it doesn't, sometimes it happens, or ultimately it's machine, it might have found some issue. If that doesn't happen, then you can automatically go ahead and promote the headers. But I have done this exercise multiple times with the exact same file, and every time the data gets automatically promoted when you select this customer data. When you select the previous sheet that was there, which is the sales data, it does not promote the headers automatically. Done. This is something that we saw about replacing the values. Now, let's say I want to add the columns. There is this column available, which is the first name and the middle name. I want to add these columns together. What is it that I can do? Can somebody try and have a look at the uh, options that are available? You can see there are various options available on the header tab, in the home, in the transform, and in the add column tab. Are you able to find any tab which gives you an option where you can add 2 columns? Let's say I want to create a column with the first name and the last name. What is it? What is the function that I can use? Try and explore the different options that are available in the home, transform, and add column tab, and let me know which is the function that I can use. If somebody can try and make a guess. Okay, many of you are saying group by. Any other? There is something called merge as well. You are able to see merge options. What is this? Whether it's merge queries or merge columns. Whether it is merge queries or merge columns. Are you able to see any column, any function called merge columns? No, there is only a column which would, the only option that you are able to see, the merge option that you see is merge queries, right? Not merge columns. Merge column option is not available. Any other option that you are able to see? Any other option that anybody can see? Pivot columns, merge queries, and only split columns, append queries. Anything else? Somebody is saying merge columns under the transform tab. Okay. Wonderful. Perfect. That's exactly why I was trying to do this exercise with all of you, so that you can have a look as to, sometimes it happens that the the way the functions names have been mentioned are sometimes confusing, and you might end up using a different function than something that you were intending to do, right? So I'm back onto my screen, and those who had identified that merge column option are absolutely correct. That is the option that's simply available. There is also an option where you can go to add column, and you can also click on custom columns and you can just apply the formula to also add columns. But this is the simpler option. As I said, you don't even have to write a single letter of a formula. No is equal to nothing doing. What I'll do is I'll select these two columns, click on merge columns. It is asking me the name of the merge column. I'm saying full name, and it is asking me whether you want a separator between these two columns. If I don't select any separator and I click OK, then if you see the full name has been added. But if you see, the full name does not have the space between the first name and the last name. What will I do? I'll just double click on this and I'll click on this separator. I'll click on space and I'll click OK. Now all the full names are available with a space. All the names are added. Done. So it was as simple as that. If the same thing you had to do in an Excel, you would apply that concat formula, right? And if there was a problem with that concat formula, you would be in a trouble, right? And then there are multiple columns. When you want to do it with multiple columns, your formula becomes huge, and when you have a huge amount of data, the Excel file becomes heavy. The best advantage, and of course, I mean, I might say this repeatedly for many of the different functions that I like. I will be probably using the same thing for or the same words for the merge queries also. But the best part of Power Query is that it doesn't make your file heavy. Whatever steps you are doing, all the formulas, all these functions are just saved as that one step. If you see, while the formula, if you see, it is very, when you compare it with a concat formula of adding two columns, the formula might seem a little longer. But what happens is, when in Excel you are applying that concat formula, if you have 1 lakh line items, you will have to apply 1 lakh the formula one in that 1 lakh cells, right? In the entire column, you will have to apply formula to all the rows. You can't just apply to one row. You can, of course, apply once and do a copy paste, but that formula still stays there, which makes your file heavy, which makes, if you have a large data and a lot of formulas, your file becomes heavy and it is difficult to open it. When it comes to Power Query, this is the only code that it saves. When you click on load, the data comes as a paste value kind of data. It is only the simple paste value data that is available onto your Excel file. It has no formulas. All the formulas are saved here into this query as all the different steps. So it is saved as a simple formula file within the entire Excel workbook. So it doesn't make your file heavy at all. So if you have small formulas or the small kind of functions that you want to apply within Excel, Power Query is something that is a better option that you can do. With me, make sense? There's some questions in the separator. Oh, I think there are a lot of people who are asking questions, and then there are also people who are giving answers on my behalf. Thank you. We've been uh, giving those answers on my behalf. Thanks a lot for the help. Somebody has asked what happened to the new column. So if you see this merged column step that I did, I named the column as full name. I added the separator as space and I clicked on OK. Right next to the last column where I performed this. So I selected the uh, yeah, sorry. My okay. So because we did it in the transform tab, what happened is the original columns went away. I missed explaining this. Let me quickly cover that. I mentioned this at the start as well. If you see in the transform tab as well as the add column tab, you would see there are many repeated functions. For example, the same merge column functions that we just saw, the change of format, merge columns, extract, parse, these all these statistic function, etc. All these options are here as well. The same text, merge columns, extract, the statistic standard functions, etc. All these formula kind of functions are available both in the transform tab as well as the add column tabs. Why so? The simple answer to it is, what happened right now with us is we selected two columns and we said in the transform tab that I want to merge these columns. When I do it in the transform tab, Power Query assumes that I just want the end result The initial columns to which I applied the functions are actually not relevant for me. I am only interested in the new column. When I do it in the transform tab, the function gets applied to the original columns. Normally, if I apply a formula, I apply to two columns. So if I do this from the transform tab, it removes the original two column and gives me a new column. So in this particular step that we did merge columns, it actually removed the first name and the last name columns and gave me the full name. If I wanted the first name and last name columns as well, as an example, I'll just quickly show here. I am not deleting that step. I am coming to the add column tab. Now, if you see in that add column tab also, the same merge column function is here. And one more important thing, if you notice, the moment I came from the last step to the second last step, if you see, I am in the last step, which is called merge columns. I am able to see only full name here. And besides it, it has only title, middle name, and the full name. The moment I go to the second last step, my previous columns come. I can see my previous columns. It is the title, the first name, middle name, and the last name. It's only the full name that was created in the subsequent step goes away because naturally I'm in the previous step. So for each and every step that you have taken, what was the result after that particular step? You can come and preview that. Every step will show you the preview of what your data looks like after that step and before the next step. So if I go back to this particular step, then I can see the first name and the middle first name as well as the last name. I'll click on both of them. And now I will go to the, instead of transform tab, I'm going to the add column tab. I'm clicking on merge columns, and it is saying because I am inserting a step in the somewhere in between the existing steps, right? There is already a replace value and then there is already a merge column step available. It is telling me, are you sure you want to insert a step? If you insert a step in between, it is possible that the subsequent steps might face a problem. Your subsequent steps might not work properly. I'll still click on insert, right? And the interface is exactly the same. Nothing changes. I'll again, okay, for reference purpose, let us select comma for our reference. And I am going to name the column as full name 2. Okay. And I'll click OK. If you see in this particular step, it has inserted that merged column. And now that merged column has been added at the end of my data. If you see the full name too, the names with commas instead of spaces, the names with comma has been inserted. If I go to the next step now, because the full name or the first name and the last name were already there, that function has not impacted the next step where I was actually again merging the columns and it was adding a full name, that is also there. And the step that I inserted previously, that step also remains there because I have not changed anything to the two columns to which the next step pertains to. If the next step was referring to some column which I have made change to, or if, which I have edited or which I have removed, then my entire next step and all the subsequent steps were going to fail. But I've done something which does not affect my next step, which is why there has been no issue in the subsequent step also. It has also worked fine. But right now that was only for demonstration purpose. What I'm doing is I'm clicking on the intermediate step that I had inserted and I'm going to delete that. I had initially advised you never to delete an intermediate step, but I am doing that because I know for sure right now that because when I added this column, nothing happened. My subsequent step was not affected. See, if I will remove that column also, I am not going to face any problem. Okay. I'll click on delete. That step will get removed and I am here with the merge column step, right? So we are here, a column has been added. We have added a column. Now, let's say I would want to remove certain columns. I don't want this title column. I don't want this middle name column. Simple step. There are two ways of removing columns. Let's say in the entire set of data, there are so many columns available. I actually want only 4 columns. What I will do is I will select those 4 columns. I will right click here, and there is an option called remove columns. And then there is another option called remove other columns. If I want to keep some columns, I will select those columns and I will right click here and go to remove other columns. If I click on remove other columns, everything else apart from the 5 columns that I have selected gets removed from my file. But if I want to only remove any particular column, in my case, I want to remove this title and middle name, I will select those 2 columns. I will right click on it and I will click on remove columns, and those 2 columns got removed. Right? Simple, easy to follow. Is everybody with me? Let me see if there were some questions. Somebody wanted a 5 minutes break. Please recap from adding column. Okay, very quickly, what I had done was I had not added any column. There are 2 steps available. What we did was, see, this is my last proper step where I have first name and I also have the last name. What I want to do is I want a column where the first name and last name appear together. There are 2 options to do this. I can go to this transform tab. I can click on replace values. If I go to the transform, sorry, not replace values, I can go to the, I can select these 2 columns. And then in the transform tab, there is something called merge columns. That is what we have done. We have done merge columns. In this merge column, if I click on this merge column button here, this is the window that will open. It will ask me what is the separator between the content of the 2 columns, the content of first column which said ABC, or the first column said Tapas, and the second column said Rupareliya. Between Tapas and Rupareliya, what is it that you want? Do you want a space? Do you want colon? Do you want a comma? Do you want an equal sign? Do you want a semicolon? Do you want a tab? What is it that you want? Or you don't want anything? You can select, or you can select a custom and you can say at the rate. If I see say at the rate, then with all the names that have come here, instead of a space, it has added at the rate instead of a space, right? We'll go back to space only. So this is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is same thing, select those 2 columns, the first name and the last name. Instead of transform tab, you go to an add column tab and then select this merge column. If you do this, then instead of removing these columns, it will add a column at the end of your data. That's the only difference. In the first way, if you go to the transform tab and apply any function, it will remove the original column and create a new column. But the same function, if you go to the add column tab and then you perform that function, in that case, it preserves the original headers and it only adds the column at the end of your data set. Let us, for the sake of explanation, do that step again and go to the replace value, clicking on first name and last name, going to add column, clicking on merge. Yes, okay. I'm clicking on space and naming as full name. Okay, so I did add column. That column got added to the last. Why I did this step again is that I realized that probably within this exercise we can do one more step as well. Now I want to move this column. We many a times it happens we receive a data and we have to first adjust it properly into a specific column format, right? A column has to be some columns have to be at the start, some column have to be at the end. There is a sequence that you have to follow when you receive a data. That is also something that you can do in Power Query. I will just click on this full name and I will drag it all the way to the start along with the first name, etc. that I had. You could have, of course, done that with keyboard as well, but because I am already halfway, I'm going ahead with this drag and drop option. Somehow it's working a little slow. Yeah, I will insert this name here, the full name, rather than having the full name at the last. I am selecting the full name here along with the first name, middle name, and last name. I am bringing my full name. So if you see, there is one more step that is added which says reordered columns. Now, this step has been this reordered column step has also been created. Whatever reordering I can do with different columns, I have shifted the column from start to end or vice versa. That also gets anything and everything that you do in Power Query, a step gets recorded. Now, instead of remove columns, which I did earlier, I also now want to remove these. I'll be on this remove column step only. I have the last name and the last name, the name style, the first name and the last name is also something that I want to remove. So I'm going to click on remove columns again, and it will add a new step. Or has it? It has not. If you see, my last step was also remove columns. And the next step also that I tried to perform was similar to remove columns. It can remove multiple columns at a time. Replaced value, it did not happen it did not merge those steps because there were two different values that I was wanting to replace. That is where it created two separate steps. But in case of removed columns, earlier I had removed three columns and I am removing another three columns now. It has merged all these steps together and it has then removed all the columns that were not relevant from the same step itself, right? With me here, if I think few of you mentioned that you want a 5 minutes break. Let us not 5 minutes, but I'll just quickly take a break. I'll just have some water. My throat is hurting. We'll assemble back in it's 17:38. It's 5:38. We'll come back at maximum by 5:41. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. I hope everybody also is back. There is a natural question that everybody has asked uh, onto the chat as to how do we, uh, which question, Manishji, which question I have not answered? Can you repeat your question? I don't think you'll be able to tag your questions. The next, I think, obvious question that everybody is asking is to, we have merged the columns. How do we unmerged columns? Which six columns were removed? I will quickly show that. I'm going back to the, uh, sorry, not six columns. It's actually the four columns only. I made a mistake while saying six columns. If you see in the last tab, oh, let me share my screen as well. I have started to share my screen. Yeah. I've started sharing my screen. So which six columns were removed? If you see in this reordered columns tab, there is something called title, there is something called first name, there is something called middle name, and then there is something called last name as well, right? So I have removed these four columns. If you see in the removed columns step on the top, you can see title, middle name, first name, last name, and there's also name and style column which was available there after the last name. So not six columns, but five columns is something. This one, the name and style is also something that I have removed. So these five columns I have removed. And in this step, I can see while I cannot, if you see there is a function which says table remove column. This is the function that is applied. This is the simplest way you can understand the M language. And which are the columns that have been removed? Title, middle name, first name, last name, and name and style. What is this before that? This talks about the step. If you see here, my previous step was reordered columns. That is here. So this is the function table dot remove columns. Then in the bracket, it has referred to the previous step, which it is referring to. And then it is just like you write an Excel formula, it has mentioned the name of the columns which have been removed. Now, if I go to a previous step, let's see how things fail in Excel, right? If I in Power Query, if I want to change the name of the column also, I can do that. So I'm going to go to a previous step, double click on the last name columns header, and double click on it, it will become editable. I will just change the last name. I'll add a dash at the end and I'll click on OK and I will insert a step, right? If you see the last step is failing because it is saying that I'm not able to fetch this column. I'm not able to find this column. The last name tape column does not exist. Why it doesn't exist? Because I inserted a step where I renamed the last name column. So the next step which actually came in was referring to this particular step, which is the reordered columns earlier. Now, because I've inserted a column, it is referring to the data or the headers from this particular step. That is the renamed columns. It is referring to all the columns from it will refer to the columns from the previous step only. In the previous step, I have renamed the column from last name to last name dash, right? This is the formula that you can see. Table dot rename columns. It refers to the previous column appearing before it. This is the original name of the column and this is the new name of the column. This is what I've done. Because I've done that, now when it is trying to remove the last name column, it is not able to find it. I can manually probably try and edit this and it will work, right? But because I know how it is working for us, ideally, if this is something that happens, I will just revert that step back. And the rename column that I have done, I will just quickly remove that step. I will delete that step. And if I go back, my Power Query is working. So this is something that I was telling you when I said that you cannot actually, go ahead and change the steps. This is what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, please put it on the Q&A box as well as the chat box. I will try to answer as many questions as possible. We will not be able to, allow to mute anyone, sorry, unmute anyone and give you the opportunity to speak. Yeah. So this is where we were. Now, the natural question that everybody was asking was that I have split this full name. Sorry, I have added a step where I've created this column where I've added two columns. What if I want to separate a column? I have a data in a particular column and I want to uh, remove or split that column. Can anybody find a relevant function in either the transform tab or somewhere else? Has anybody been able to find a relevant step, whether it's in a home tab or transform tab, split column? Wonderful. There is also a suggestion to delete that step. That's correct. But let's say you receive a data where a column is such that you have to remove. For example, your one of your column probably we would have here as well. See, I have this email address, right? I want to extract the usernames from this particular step. I want to extract the username. I have not created this step, so I cannot go back and delete this particular step. So if you go into the home tab, you can see something called a split column tab. I am clicking on this split column tab. And Manishji, again, I think you are just writing. Please answer my question. You might have mentioned your question, but there is a lot of chat that's happening. Towards the end of the session, I'll spare some time for addressing the specific questions. You can ask probably at that time, or if I'm able to see your question at the right time, I will definitely answer that. Right. So coming back, if you see on this split column, there are many options available. There is an option called by delimiter. There is an option called by number of characters, by position, by lowercase to uppercase, by uppercase to lowercase, digit to non-digit, non-digit to digit, so on and so forth. There are various options available. If in case of an email, let's go with a very simple example. In case of an email, I have a delimiter, right? What is the delimiter? If I want to extract the username, in this particular case, there is a email address called adventure-works.com. I don't want that. I just want something before that. So what I will do is I will click on split column by delimiter, and then there is the option which has come up. It says specify the delimiter that you uh, want to use to split the column. I am clicking on custom. And if you see, I actually didn't select on custom and go to @ Power Query has its own intelligence. It has realized that in the data that is there, the @ seems to be the most consistent kind of delimiter which can be used to split something, because after @, while there is a dash also, if you see in the email address, there is a dash, there is a dot, but it has intelligently saw that adventure-works.com is something that is appearing in all the columns. So when this person wants to split the column by delimiter, probably that is something that they are wanting. They want to split it through @, which is absolutely correct, what it has assumed. And if you see, my column has been split. I can now, the email address has been split into the data before the uh, and the data which is after the @. Again, this column is something that would not be relevant for me. So I will click on remove columns, and this I will change it to username. As simple as that. Right? So this is the step which is in relation to we saw adding of columns, and we also saw splitting of columns. Let me see what are the points. Split the column, I've answered. How to split the column, we have done that. How to separate a full name is in one column, we saw that. What if I wanted to load just a part of the data sheet and not the entire sheet, say a few rows? Manishi, that's not possible. After coming to uh, Power Query, you can apply various formulas to remove some rows, and we'll see to that. But there is no option where you can say that I want to load only a limited amount of data into Power Query. It's an advanced technique which is there, but then in that case, you will have to use the M language, the simplest of the Power Query for the very beginners. It is something that's not doable. So let's keep it at that, right? Now we have understood the basic functions. Let us get on to a practical exercise. all of just on the chat, if all of you who would have any time done again in this case, just like Merge said, the original column will hide. Yes, that's correct. Uh, I would want in all of you to put in the chat if you have ever come across or if you have ever performed GST reconciliation or any sort of reconciliation in Excel, either by applying lookups or by doing through pivots. Okay, okay, yeah, VLOOKUP, right? So what do you do with respect to doing reconciliation with VLOOKUP? You do a concat first, right? And even for concat, what you can do is the easiest option is to concat the GST number and the invoice number, or you can create a huge key with the GST number, probably the date, invoice number, so on and so forth, if you want to match multiple criteria. So in order to learn some other functions of Power Query as well, I am closing this particular file. I am clicking on close and load. And what I'm going to do is there are other two files also that are available. That is purchase register sample and the GSTR2B sample. I will open the GSTR2B to first show that, and I mean, while all of you are aware that the GSTR2B data that comes in is not in a proper, is in a format which you will always have to edit. Let me open that sample GSTR2B that I have prepared for the purpose of this exercise. This is how your GSTR2B comes in, right? You go to a B2B tabs. For the purpose of this exercise, we will only look at the B2B tab. But if you see, there is an inherent problem. When you speak of data analytics, when you speak of tools like Power Query or Power BI, they want one type of data in one type of column. You can't have uh, header which spreads across three different columns, or you can't have data into two, you can't have two merged rows. That is going to create problems. The data analytics field, whenever you are using any advanced data analytics tool or even a business intelligence tool like Power BI or even Tableau or something, and data transformation tools like Power Query, ultimately when the final data is being created has to be in a proper structured format. This is something that computers hate. This is the the A to U, so many columns have been merged together. Here if you see, uh, uh, there are two rows that are merged together. In this particular C, D, E, and F columns, my headers are coming into row number 6, whereas in if I do an unmerge here, if I unmerge here, then my actual value, while this was merged in the Excel, you can see the data appearing in row 5 and 6. Technically, the data is held in row number 5 only. It is not held in the row number 6. If you want to see the same file at the same stage in Power Query after closing, then how to check? We'll come to this. I'll show that, Manjari ji. I'll show that how to get back into Power Query onto the exact same file, right? So this is how it is. So let's open another Excel workbook. You guys don't have to open this particular GSTR2B file right now. We are going to do it in Power Query. So open a fresh Excel workbook and we will be importing the GSTR2B. Now what I'm going to do is I will finish this entire GSTR2B reconciliation exercise, and whatever time is left, I will allocate that time for the Q&A, right? Whatever functions that I have shown right now, why all this is essential before going into the GST reconciliation option. The next exercise that we are going to is actually something that you can use the functionalities of Power Query in order to do those repetitive steps that you do in Excel. While when Power Query was introduced, it was actually meant to transform the data so that a proper data is created into Power BI. What happens is when you create a file in Power Query, when I have, let me open that file that we just created, right? Manjari ji, whatever you were asking, let me show that as well right away. There seems to be some problem with the data, but should be available. Yeah. In the data tab where we went into this get data, etc. If I already have Power Query that is done, if I open that Excel sheet, this is how you will see. If you want to go back to the particular query that you had already created, this is the option. You can click on these queries and connection. Whatever queries you are seeing at the left hand side of the Power Query window, those queries will be available here on the right hand side. And any query you can double click on, it will again take you to the Power Query window. Okay, so we are here in the Power Query window. So somebody has asked me that they are stuck into this Power Query window and they want to go out onto the Excel. This is the button that you have to click on. Below in the home tab, there is the first button which says close and load. Somebody is asking a question as to how do I go back to this particular step. Varunji, you were saying, can I deleted step be undone? Like, can I add the same step again? Yes, you can do that. But as I said, if a subsequent step is referring to some column which gets disturbed by you adding a step in between, then you can definitely do that. But let's say you had created a step, by mistake you deleted that step, and because of that the query got affected. You can go back and add that step, and it will solve this problem to you, right? Perfect. I think most of the questions in the Q&A box have been answered. Only thing that somebody was asking is to how do we go back? If you want to see the same file in the Power Query stage, that is what we have done. And this is the one you just click on close and load and you will get into the Excel window. You will come back to Excel window. I'm closing this for the time being. I'm going to the no, Control Z doesn't work in Power Query. You can't, if you have deleted a step, Control Z doesn't work in Power Query. Uh, uh, Sorry to break this to you. It's a Windows tool, but still, Control Z wouldn't work. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I have tried and faced. Control Z doesn't work. Let's move to Power Query. Now I'm trying to park all those questions. If let's use the Q&A box for all the questions. So anybody and everybody who has a question, please use the Q&A box, ask your questions, and anything and everything that I just asked you to respond. Let's keep the chat open for it. All of you have the GSTR mock, GSTR 2B and PR data with you. Just remember where the folder has, which folder has this particular files. What I am doing is I am closing my GSTR 2B. Also, I am coming to the blank Excel file. I'll save it as well so that it is available for me for future reference. I'll save it into the exact same folder. Where is my folder? Here it is. And I will say, I'll give the name as GST reconciliation. You can name it as GST reconciliation if you want. And all of you know the standard drill. I want to import the GSTR2B file. How to do GSTR2B in the proper format? That's exactly what we are going to do, Sureshji. In the chat, can anybody tell me what is the process to get into, get the GSTR2B file? Manjriji, you can link as many files you want into the same Excel sheet and the same file, right? While I showed an example where I had two different sheets that were uh, in a same workbook and I added into the same Power Query, but we will see right now in this particular step, we are going to import two different files into the same query. Okay, we are getting correct answers from the audience. We'll go to get data from file, and I'll select Excel workbook and I will select the mock GSTR 2B data. I will click on import. Perfect, wonderful. Good to know that everybody is following. And now if you see GSTR 2B is going me, oh my God, so many sheets. Most of the sheets we are not going to touch right now. Anyways, it's a mock data. So most of the data is going to be in GSTR 2B only. Now, if you see to humans, all those merged columns were looking very nice, but to computer, see how it is looking at your data. It has taken the first row as the header. The GSTR2B, that was the merged columns that were appearing. It was taking up three different rows. The first row, it has taken the GSTR2B as the header, and then the entire two rows are null. Then you have that in taxable inward supplies, and then your headers are starting. Oh my God, I will have to do a lot of transformation to this particular file. I'm clicking on transform, and it is going to take me to where? It is going to take me to the uh, Power Query world, right? Within the Excel, there is a hidden door which takes you to the Power Query world. It is taking me to the Power Query world. Now I can see, oh my God, there is a messy data. Let's try and clean that. The first thing I think that I will have to do is remove those rows. And I think Manishji, you were asking me if you want to do this. This is something that you can explore with your data when you want to remove particular rows. Right now, what is happening is if you see my header is starting at row number 4 and row number 5. Row number 4 has some amount of headers. The first and second column have the headers, and row number 5 has the headers for row column number 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So these two rows are actually important for me, row number 4 and 5, but the first three rows are not important for me. So what we'll do is there is something called remove rows in the home tab. And if you see the simplicity of Power Query, the whatever logical options can be there are always there. If you see right besides remove rows, there is something called keep rows. Just as the example that we saw, that I saw remove columns and remove other columns, which means I select two columns. When I select remove columns, those two columns get removed. When I select those two columns and I select remove other columns, only those two columns remain and the other columns get removed. Similarly for rows as well. If you want to, Manish, if you want to keep a selected number of rows, you can import the entire data, and mind you, there is no limit on the data that gets imported onto Power Query. There is no 10 lakh 50,000 जो भी limit है Excel का. There is no such limit in Power Query. Only challenge is when you perform this entire function and you load the data, the Excel limit will apply, and only Excel का जितना capacity है उतना ही data will get loaded onto Excel. But while working with Excel, or while working with Power Query, you can import as much of data that you want. And from that, if you want to remove some amount of data, you can do that. So I can say that first option, I can select keep rows, keep top rows, keep bottom rows, and keep a range of rows. Similarly, I can say keep duplicates, or I can see keep errors, so on and so forth. Or then in the remove rows, there is also similar options available. Remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternate rows, right? Those are only the logical steps. You can't say that remove 5 rows after the top 5 rows. That's something that may not be possible because you might also have some data which is only of say 9 rows, right? Power Query doesn't know what is the amount of data that is going to come to you. So whatever is applicable generically to the entire data that's available on in the world, or all the different scenarios that is possible in the world that users may use, addressing those all the scenarios, whatever is possible, they have done. So what is possible? Remove top rows. Yes, if I am importing 10 rows and if I am saying remove top 9 rows, I can do that. If I am importing 1 lakh line items and I am saying remove top 9 rows, the end result is going to be the same. Only thing, the end result meaning thereby the 9 rows will be removed, and the subsequent whatever remaining rows remain are going to be there in Power Query. So the options are remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternate rows. I can also select remove duplicates, and if your data has remove blank rows, I can do that as well. So my first 2 rows are actually blank. If I do remove blank rows, will it work? The answer is yes. But that first blank, the first row which actually has only one column as a data, nothing else is there, that is something that doesn't get removed. So this step is actually not very optimal for me. I will have to perform another step. Instead of that, what I'll do is I'll click on remove rows and I'll click on remove top rows. The moment I do that, it will ask me remove rows. भैया कितना rows remove करना है? How many rows do you want to remove? I say 3. Simple, no complex formulas, right? So those 3 irrelevant rows have been removed. Now I have a data which has columns in the first row and columns in the second row, and I'm just glancing through the data. All these last columns is something that's not really very relevant for the purpose of reconciliation as of now. I'm not saying that IRN number and IRN date XLR would never be relevant, but for the simple exercise that we are doing right now, all these additional columns are not relevant. So from the end of it, I'm just going back and up to state tax or even up to cess. I don't think so this data would have cess, but let's have it. Let's keep it up to GSTR1 filing date, and let's keep it up to ITC availability, right? ITC availability, I'm keeping the data, all these whatever number of columns that I have selected, I am going to delete all these columns. So I have selected how many? 17 to 21 I have selected. Or we all of us know the drill. I will right click on it and I will click on remove columns. Boom, all the irrelevant columns have gone. But now I am facing with one important challenge, and this is a similar challenge that you might face. And this trade legal name also is something that's empty, so I don't need that as well. I am removing that column as well. Now, this is something which is there. The challenge that I have is my first, in some of the columns, I have my header in the first row, and in remaining of the columns, I have my header in the second row. And this might happen sometimes when you receive a data which somebody has copy pasted from a pivot, and they have not repeated the headers on the side, the fields on the side. What happens is only the one field appears once, and then the relevant data appears on the side. And then when the new data comes in, that appears. Beach में there is many a times that you have the blank data available, but if you want to apply some filter, etc., or you want to apply some formulas, you will have to copy paste. So what we normally do is we do a copy paste. In Power Query, there is a fantastic option available which is called fill up and fill down. Okay. I am selecting all the columns. Till that time, I would request if all of you can try and find that option. Fill down करके there is an option available in Power Query. Which tab are you able to see that option? What I have done is I have selected all the columns and I want all of you to try and search for the fill down option. No, no, not merge rows option. We'll have to find out fill down option. We are not merging any rows as yet. Did somebody get that? Hint, it is in the transform tab. Perfect, Amit ji. In the transform tab, there is something called fill. Very small button. Why I am asking you to find these buttons is that only challenge with Power Query that I also face. I'm using it regularly, but sometimes I also fail to find this fill button. I have to actually remember that it appears in the transform tab. It's a very small button slide somewhere hidden towards the start of the transform tab, right? Not in the middle, but towards the left when you start. I'm highlighting that there is a fill button. And there are naturally two options. There is something called fill up and there is something called fill down. So I will select an option called fill down. Done. I could have done fill up as well, but fill up wouldn't have helped me, or fill up is also something that would have been relevant in this case. But now if you see, my most of the headers were in row number 2. Okay, this invoice number, invoice type, invoice date, etc. were there. Power Query has intelligently only seen those blank rows where the data was not available. See, in the first column, in the second column, there was no data in the second. After that, the data was there. I had sufficient data available. So it has not touched wherever the data was available, but wherever data was not there, the moment I clicked on this fill down button, whatever data was there in the first row was copied into the next row. And this can be anywhere. If you, I am talking the example that I took about the pivot table also, if you take that into Power Query and apply that fill down, it will see what is the cell which has the value right above, right first to the blank cell. So blank cell के ऊपर जाके it will see which row holds the data. It will take that thing and then go down and paste that. Okay, so it has done that. Now my rows in the second row is something that I like. That is, those are the proper headers that are available to me. What I will do is I will again go to Home tab. I will click on Remove Rows. I will click on Remove Top Rows and I will click on OK. My top row has again been removed. Now, what is the next step? We did that in the previous one as well. What is the next step? Use first rows as header. Wonderful. What happens if in the column there is a random blank cell which gets filled down? Would the same be filled also? Yes, if it applies on a no thinking basis. It applies on a it's called robotic process automation type of stuff. It does not apply a logic whether this random, whether the data which is there is random or not. The moment you select a column and select fill down, whatever data is appearing first, after that, wherever there is something blank, wherever there is a blank cell, it will paste the data from the previous cell which has a value. It will not apply its own mind, is what I was trying to say. Okay. So the suggestions that came in is to select use first rows as header. I have done that, and see the moment promoted my headers, my change type has again come. So ये ऊपर जो change type था, this is actually not relevant. I am deleting that step, and this step is here. Change type, my data has been changed. If you see GST number, if I click on this, it says the data type as text. If I select on invoice type, again text. If I select on invoice date, it is a date format. My invoice value, it is in decimal format, so on and so forth, right? My GSTR to be is clean. Now, many of you might have a question, sir, itna sara mehnat just to change the headers. It is okay. I would do it manually if I have to do it once, but that's the beauty of it. You don't have to do it once. You might have to do it multiple times. Just for the sake of this demonstration, what I'm doing is I am closing this and I'm clicking on close and load. My proper GSTR2B, which was prepared, has come here. Okay. I am minimizing this file. What I'm doing is I am creating a copy of it. For this purpose, you have to assume that it's a new data. For so ये जो mock GSTR2B था, let's say this was for the month of March, and this GSTR2B is for the month of April. I'm renaming that as April. Data remains the same, but I'm trying to tell you the underlying logic. Whether the format of GSTR2B changes on a month-on-month basis, whether the format of GSTR2B changes or it remains the same every month, it remains the exact same, right? So let us assume that while the data is still the same, in front of you, I have just copied the file and changed it. But let us assume that this is a new file that has come in the month of April. What I will do is I will go to query. There are two options that I have. Because it's the same file, it is going to show the same result. You can go into the same folder where you earlier had this GSTR2B. Just replace the file, make the file, keep the file name as the same. And you have to just come here and refresh your query. But if you want to change the file, just one step I will change. I will go to source. I will click on browse. I will click on this mock GSTR to be April. I will click on import and I will click on OK. And the next month's GSTR2B is also done. I don't have to do anything. This is a one-time full automation done. Next time you receive GSTR2B, just either go and change the source or always have a particular folder where you are running this Power Query. Once this is done, you can save the sheet somewhere else, but have your master Power Query saved into a folder, and the GSTR2B also gets saved into the same folder. Next month, all you have to do is just click on replace the GSTR2B file and click on refresh. Your entire modified GSTR2B is available to you. Good trick, liked everyone? Was it useful, this transformation? Now, if this is useful, let us automate the entire reconciliation that you do. What I will do is, now I will, for next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to close the chat window and I'm going to perform a reconciliation. Then I'll open the chat window and I'll address all the questions. But I will request all of you also to stick with me, not type anything into the chat. Just look at the magic that's happening on the screen. I'm going on to the home tab. Sorry, I'll go to the data tab. I'll click on, oops, I went to the Power Query editor by mistake. I'll click on get data from file from Excel workbook, and I will select mock PR data. I will click on import PR data. Okay. My PR, there is only one sheet, and if I have a look at my PR data, it seems to be properly organized. I need not do any transformation. So I might click on load, but I want to do the reconciliation. That's why I'm going into the transformation tab. I'm going onto the transformation tab. You just pay a close attention. Okay, there are some important concepts also that will learn in the next 12 to 15 minutes, but it is going to be amazing. You are going to, all of you, what is the number of participants that there? All 126 of you are going to, including myself, all 125 of you are going to stop using VLOOKUP from tomorrow. Okay. There is something called merge queries which is available. So just for your reference, my B2B sheet, this is the final stage. My GSTR 2B in a proper structured manner available. Check my mock purchaser is there. I don't like the mock name. Let me change it to purchase register so that it feels authentic. Done. So my purchase register is also there and my GSTR 2B is also there. Now there is something called merge queries. When I was trying to merge columns, many of you pointed out to this merge queries. Now it is important. I am going to merge queries, but I am not clicking on it. I am just coming here and clicking on the down arrow. If you click on the down arrow, there are two options available. One is merge queries and other is merge queries as new. Same logic. What we did with merge column, it is the exact same logic that will apply here. What would happen is if you click on merge queries, then the lookup will get applied to the sheet, the primary sheet that you have selected for the purpose of this entire function. If you select the option merge queries as new, it will create a fresh query. It will create a new query where this entire reconciliation would happen. So essentially, it will create a new Excel sheet where the reconciliation will happen. So I'm clicking on merge queries as new. I've clicked on merge queries as new. There is a window that has come up. अभी हम लोग reconciliation के लिए क्या करते हैं? We discussed what we do is we concatenate our GSTN and voucher or the GST number, and then we do the same thing in the GSTR2B as well, and then we apply lookup. And we look up as an inherent issue. Number one, it can look at only one criteria at a time. So you have to concatenate at least your GST number and the invoice number because multiple vendors can send you the same invoice. Sorry, can send you an invoice with the same number. So you have to essentially to create a unique key. You have to concatenate the GST number and voucher number because VLOOKUP cannot apply to two columns simultaneously. Again, another problem is VLOOKUP can look at only towards its left. It cannot look up towards it right. If your main column is in the left side, it can only go to the next columns as well. It cannot go to the other direction. No such problem with Power Query. Columns may be anywhere, the names may be anywhere. Only thing that you have to ensure is that in order to look up one column with another, both the columns have to have the same data type. Unless and until the data type is the same, the lookup is not going to apply. I cannot look up a numeric column, a number column, a whole number column with date column, or I cannot look up a text column with a date column, right? It's not going to match because that's inherently not possible. And that's something that will not give you a result. That's why that is something that is not going to happen. What I'm going to do right now is it has automatically selected purchase register. Second, I will select B2B. The B2B data is also visible. Now look at the magic. I'm zooming my screen slightly so that only the relevant data is available. Purchase register ho gaya. This is done. Now what I'm going to do is, no, zooming is not helping. Let me stay as it is. I am selecting the GST number here and I'm selecting the GST number here. What I did, I just clicked two columns, no formula, nothing, no is equal to, no sum, nothing doing. I just selected two columns. See the beauty. It is showing me the selection matches 170 out of 200 rows from the first table. I have an idea right here itself that whether my data is correct. If there is zero match, then I just go out. I don't even perform the reconciliation because GST number ही एक भी match नहीं हो रहा है. There is no point of doing anything else. Right? So there are 170 GST numbers which are going to match out of the 200 rows. I feel that, okay, this seems to be good. Now, how do I do concate? I cannot see any formula bar. Sir, there is no need of formula bar. Ma'am, there is no need of a formula bar. I just press control. I click on voucher number here on my purchase register. Instead of invoice number, it says voucher number. And in my GSTR2B, it says invoice number. I again press my control button and I click on to this invoice number. Now, if you see, there are numbers which have appeared here. GST has 1 and this has 2. This is the sequence in which it will look at the column. So it will first match GST numbers, then it will match the voucher number. So it has given the priority. The moment I did that, you see the change, the matching changed, it reduced. Initially, 170 GST numbers were matching. But when I said that along with GST number, you also match the invoice number, it said out of 200, only 110 are matching, which means that out of those GST numbers, there may be some problem with the invoice number. This gives me an insight right away. Now, let's say I want to check other columns as well. It's not possible with VLOOKUP, but I am going to do a full-fledged exact reconciliation. I will press Control, select the date as well. I will press Control, select the uh, tax amounts as well. Integrated tax, IGST amount, central tax, CGST amount, state duty GST, state amounts. My matching has reduced from 170 to 110 to 80 now. This is done. My matching has happened. Even without even looking at the final data, I know that this is the matching that's happening, and I can whether I should trust the data or not. This is done. I have matched how many columns together? I have matched one, two, three, four, six columns I have matched together without doing any sort of concat, without applying a single line of formula or even a single word of formula, single uh, uh, text. Right? I've just selected the interface. Now, after doing this, there is an important step which all of you have to follow. There is something called join that you are seeing at the bottom. Between after the table, there is something called join kind. Now, this is a concept of SQL, statistical query language करके एक language होता है, just like there is a Python. In order to uh, manipulate or the best language for manipulating the data or getting the results out of data, querying the data, it's a structured query, not statistical query language, sorry, structured query language or whatever it may be. I'm forgetting the name right now. SQL is a language that you use. This is the fundamental of that, and I might have something in my slides on this. Let me quickly have a look whether I have those join kinds or not. Yeah, there are different joins which are available, but again, this is not something that um, yeah. There's only one diagram that I want to show. First, let's look at this particular presentation. If you see in the Power Query window also, there were multiple options. If I select the drop down, there is something called left outer, and all of this is self-explanatory. What does left outer say? All from the first, matching from the second. Right outer says all from the second, matching from the first. Full outer says everything from everything, all rows from both. Inner says only matching rows. Left anti says right only in first, and sorry, left anti says rows only in first, and right anti says row only in the second. So this first data set that we have selected, the purchase register, is considered as left, and the second data set that we have taken is known as right. Now, why this left and right concept? The answer is there in these join types. Now, what these join types, let me stop at. Yeah. So now let us understand this with a example. I have two sets of data. The A is my purchase register. B is my GSTR 2B. What am I interested? I'm interested in the reconciliation. So what is relevant for me? Inner. Once my reconciliation is done, there is also something that I'm interested in. What am I interested? What is left in PR only? That is left anti. What is left in my GSTR 2B only? That is right anti. These three is something that we are never going to use. It is not very relevant for us, at least for the purpose of the reconciliation, etc., that we are doing. Hence, I'm not delving deep into that, but these are all self-explanatory. If you apply left outer, what it will do, it will bring all the data from the left hand side, and it will bring the corresponding data from the right hand side, that is the GSTR 2B, wherever the matching is happening. Other rows are going to remain blank, right? If you select right outer, same thing will happen. If you select full outer, there would be multiple rows. For in our example, say there were 200 rows in both the data. There were 200 rows in purchase register, 200 rows in GSTR 2B. Only 80 were matching. So what would happen is 200 rows from purchase register will be there. 80 will match, and remaining 120 that has not matched in GSTR 2B Additional 120 line items would be added, which will be blank on the left hand side. That is how this fundamental works. So one thing that you have to ensure while performing that reconciliation or this in the Power Query window, this merge queries is looking at this. If you don't do that, what would happen is it will select left outer. That's the default option. That is where most of the times when I finish the data, people say that sir reconciliation आपने जैसा बनाया था वैसा नहीं आया. Why this happens is because you would not have selected inner for your reference, right? What I'm doing is I'm clicking on inner. The moment I click on inner and I click OK, you see there is one more query that has been added. What I'm going to name it is that exact match. The reconciliation is ready. I will scroll to the right. This is the data of the purchase register only. I will scroll to the right. I am not able to see the reconciliation data. Actually, I'm not able to look at the GSTR 2B data. PR data is there, but reconcile हुआ है तो GSTR 2B का भी data होना चाहिए. Where is it? I can see there is a different option available. So it has brought in the data, but it has not expanded the GSTR 2B data. If you see, there is a button alongside the name B2B. If I click on that, oh, now it shows me all the names of the columns which are there. It does not automatically bring all the columns. It waits for you to tell it what are the columns that you want. For the purpose of this demonstration, I am going to only say GSTN of the supplier, invoice number and invoice date, just only these two. And there is another option which says use original column name as prefix, because there might be a possibility that both your data might have the same column name. So it may be difficult for you to realize which column refers to, if it's invoice number, whether it is a books invoice number or whether it's a GSTR 2B invoice number. If I use this particular tick, then when it imports the data, it adds the query name before it, right? Original column as prefix. Right now, what is the original column name? The column name is B2B. Let me change it to GSTR 2B. And then I will expand this data. I will deselect all, select GST number and invoice number and just use the original column as prefix. Now, if you see, it has brought the GSTN of the supplier column and it has added a prefix against it. If I had not selected that, it would have only brought this GSTN of the supplier. And mind you, Power Query cannot store two columns. That's a data issue. In Power BI, if you are creating a visualization and if you want to select a column कि ये column का मेरा chart बनना चाहिए, and if from the same column name there are two columns, which column to select the system would not know. Hence, by default, by design, Power Query cannot have the same column name twice. Even if your raw data has the same column name twice, if you click on transform and load that data through Power Query, or just through Power Query you load the data, one of the columns, the subsequent columns will get one added after it, 1, 2, 3 ऐसा करके it will change the column name. You cannot have the same column name for the same data. Now let us have a look at the reconciliation that it has performed. What has happened in my reconciliation? Okay, GSTN is this, invoice number 7897. The amount of tax is CGST 5456.64. That I'm not saying, but that I have not actually got. Let me again go back and expand. Now I realize that, oh, I also need invoice. Simple, come back, click on, what are the options? Where did it go? Click on central tax, click on state tax. Where is IGST? Integrated tax and the cess amount. Okay, I'll click OK. Everything is added. Each add ho gaya. If I forgot something, I can come back and add. Acha, it is not appearing in a proper format. What can we do? I can come and rearrange GSTN pehle chahiye. And then I want the invoice number. Let me drag it to the second position. Now central tax says last में चाहिए. Let me drag it to the extreme right. Now it is, and let me have the IGST first. So now it's properly arranged. GSTN of the supplier, invoice number. Now see the first one, 5456. Yes, that is matching. हो गया, done. Now I want PR only data and the GSTR to be only data, because when initially I selected the GST number and only the invoice number, those two columns, it was giving me 110 columns that were matching. But right now, when I did the matching with additional criteria, that is the amounts and the date criteria, 30 invoices were not reconciled, which means there is some issue with these kind of criteria where something is not matching. So what I will do is, ये करने के बाद if I have to match, so in terms of our SQL diagram that we saw, this reconciliation has happened. So I will take it out. Now what I will do is I will do a reconciliation of this leftover A versus leftover B. What do we call it? PR only versus GSTR 2B data only. I will go to merge queries. So a couple of additional steps will have to be done. But exactly as I said, when I made changes to the GSTR 2B and I made the GSTR 2B a final version, same thing will happen. All these steps you are doing right now is only one time, once in a lifetime. If your client's data purchase register doesn't change, and mostly the government doesn't change the GSTR 2B data, this is only a one-time exercise that you are going to do. So what I'll do is I'll click on merge queries as new again. I will click on exact match. Should I select exact match or should I select B2B? Both, all the options are available. Even if I select exact match, I can use the other left anti, etc. Something else as well. But for our purpose, I will have to follow the same process so that it's easy to understand. I'm selecting purchase register and B2B. Exact same thing. I will select the same columns: GSTN, voucher number, date, uh, and the three tax amounts. Right? These were the six columns that I had matched. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right? 80 is matching. Only change that I will do is instead of inner, I am going to select left anti and I will click on OK. Done. So this is my PR only done. Now I will right click on this and I will duplicate this query. So PR only फिर से बन गया. क्यों बना है फिर से PR only? I actually want GSTR 2B only. But it's exactly the same query. I will double click on it. Instead of left anti, I will change it to right anti and I will click OK. My GSTR 2B data is also ready. I am clicking on GSTR 2B only. But the challenge is in my PR only data, there was a lot of data that was available. Even if I expand this, let's say I just select something and I expand that, actually there's not going to be any data because I've selected left anti. So GSTR 2B में से कुछ data आएगा ही नहीं, right? So that step was irrelevant. But when I come to GSTR 2B, because it was a right anti, there is no data on the left hand side. So there are two ways of doing it. Either I can expand this data or the copy that I made, I should have ideally, sorry, in this source, or let me do it afresh. Let me delete this, right? I will right click on it. I've created a duplicate. I will rename it as GSTR2B. It is done. Only thing I will do is I will go to source and I will change the sources. मैं ऊपर B2B करके नीचे PR purchase register कर दूंगा. Now I will do GSTN of the supplier, invoice number, invoice date, and the taxes, same GST number, voucher number, date, and the taxes. And I will let and left anti as it is because I have changed. I have now put left into GSTR 2B into left and I will click OK. My GSTR 2B data is also ready. Only thing that I had to do in my PR only data is to remove this column, which is actually not relevant. I have removed this column. Similarly for GSTR 2B also, I am removing this one. I have removed this column. Done. My GSTR 2B and PR only data is ready. Now what will I do? I know that there are still 30 invoices that we're going to match. I will again go to merge queries as new. Then I will select here what B2B, PR only, GSTR 2B, PR only, and then GSTR 2B. It should actually have been GSTR. Let me rename it to 2B only. Then it is going to make more sense. Merge queries is new. I am selecting PR only and 2B only. Same criteria. this time, or a different criteria? Different criteria. I'm selecting GST number and only invoice number. See, all those 30 invoices that were not matching are now available here. Out of 120, 30 are matching. Why 120? From the earlier matching that we did, those 80 were removed, right? There were 200 rows. It was showing earlier that there are 200 rows, out of it 80 got matched, which is there. We took out the remaining in PR only. So 120 jo bach gaya, we took it out. Out of that 120, now 30 are matching. I'm not selecting anything else. I'm clicking on OK. And I am saying, I am just going to the right side, clicking on GSTR to be only. I know that GST number and invoice number are going to match, but I'll still select those. The problem was with invoice date probably, or one of the taxes. So I'm going to click on select OK. Now let's see first option. First option, first row has 12th of December here, and here it is 11th of December. That is why it was not matching. What is the tax amount? 47379.47. Oh, the tax amount is also slightly different. No, sorry, I was looking at the taxable value. So 4264.15, 4264.15. Somewhere there would be difference in the taxable the tax amounts as well. There also the matching would happen. I'm just trying to find those options. Probably towards the end. Checking where is this null values? Things are good here. Things are good here as well. Let us expand the GSTR to be again. Let's have all GST number, invoice number, and the tax values. There is some problem with the subsequent data somehow is coming as null. Shouldn't have. Oh, okay. Yeah, only 30 columns are matching, right? So what is the problem? Why this null is coming? I may not have selected the proper option while doing the merge queries. I have selected left outer. Yeah, I should have selected inner only and then click OK. Now the expand only, yes, the null values will not happen. So in a hurry, I had selected left outer. So the example that I was giving, actually by mistake, I demonstrated that first all the matching values came in, but also the values on the left hand side in my PR data, whatever, even if there was nothing matching there, because I brought in that left outer option, even if something was not matching, that also where was there in my PR data, right? So my, this is, I would say, uh, I would call it as or matching to be checked, right? Done. So I am saying that this is the second query that matching has to be done. So two reconciliations are ready. I am still not going to close and load. There is one final step that I'm going to show it to. This is the end step. You can iterate as many number of times. You can keep on removing one criteria at the time and keep on, you can keep going. The last option is now this reconciliation. You see, there are two separate sheets, right? This exact match and the matching to be checked. These are two separate sheets. If I click on close and load, everything is going to get loaded here. And this to be only is there, PR only is there, exact match is there, purchase register, B2B, matching to be checked, right? So these two files are there. I want to merge these two files. I want to give a consolidated report saying what is the matching status in both the files. So let me just quickly check. We have kept the same number, GST into O. Yes, perfect. What I'll do is I'll go back to my Power Query window. My first query is exact match. What I'll do is I'll go to add column. I will create a custom column. Let me see if that works. And I will say exact match and I'll click OK. So I have a custom column which says matching status. This file has all the data which is there is exact match. And same in this file, all the data which is there is matching to be checked, right? So I will again go to uh, oops, I will go to custom column and I will just write what I want the name of the column is, matching status, and I will say uh, to be checked, and I'll click on OK. Just checking the matching status spelling of both the files is same or not. Matching status, matching status, perfect. Now, within the merge queries, there is an important function that is available called append queries. If you have multiple files lying at different locations, you bring all the files into Power Query and then you use something called append queries. Or if all the files are in the same exact format, they have the same headers, then you can append one file after the another. So I have two separate reconciliation sheets. I can have 7 separate reconciliation sheets. Now I want all these sheets to be made into one single file. I can do that. Just give me a second. Right. So what I'll do is I'll click on append queries. Again, I will click on append queries as new. And in that, I'm going to say two tables, right? Even if it's three or more tables, it can do that. So first table, what is my first table? It is going to be exact match. In second table, it is going to be matching to be checked. I'm clicking on OK. And the consolidated reconciliation is ready. Matching to be checked. Let me check once again. Seems there was some issue with respect to the type of. No, it's done. I think it's just adding some other columns at the end, which is not there. Now, if you see to be checked, etc. is there. I think there is a problem with the way the GSTNs, etc. have come in. Exact match में GSTN voucher number. Probably some challenge with the way the numbers have been given. The column headers were given. Oh, okay, I realize now. In the exact match, when we uh, did the matching and we expanded the file, we we've actually not expanded. Yeah, we've expanded, but we may not have given the uh, additional name, GSTN of the supplier, etc. Yeah, we have not added that. Uh, Prefix was not added, and in this one the prefix was added. For the demonstration purpose, I had added those prefix. So what I'll have to do is quickly let me try if this is possible, if this helps. Otherwise, I'll do that step quickly. This one should take a couple of seconds. So this is how sensitive Power Query is. If somewhere it applies a lot of intelligence and at other places it really doesn't apply a lot of intelligence. I will delete this append query once and let me try and apply it again. I'm going to, yes, please delete. I'm going to append queries as new, exact match, matching to be checked, clicking on OK, fingers crossed. Perfect. I think it's done now. So now my consolidated reco is, I will name it as final reco. This file is ready and it is done. Next one, what you have to do when you receive the reconciliation file or the GSTR 2B and the purchase register file, all you have to do is either go to the Power Query, change the source, or where you created the initial query, wherever your base files are, you have to just come to it and you have to simply replace those files. Yeah, so my final reco is ready. Exact match with all the comments. You can If you had, let's say, in the first one, you had added 6 columns to match. Next column, you remove the date and rest of the things you matched. You could have mentioned a comment, everything matches apart from date, so on and so forth. You can drill down to that extent of matching. And this is a one-time creation, and this beats almost all the GST reconciliation softwares out there. You can create your customized GST reconciliation tool right here on Power Query. And next time I have a new data, all I have to do is go to this particular folder where my data, uh, go to this particular folder where my data is saved. My file name was mock PR and my file name was mock GSTR2B. I will just replace these two files with this exact same name. I will come to this Excel file. I will go to data tab and I will click on refresh all. And in a click of a button, my reconciliation will be ready. Nothing else I will have to do. This is only a one-time exercise that I did in the past 30 minutes that created this robust reconciliation for me. Right. So this is, I think this is what I wanted to cover in terms of Power Query. Anybody and everybody who felt that this was much, much, much more easier than VLOOKUP, and from tomorrow onwards you are going to stop using VLOOKUP, just say yes on the chat or give me a thumbs up on the chat if you really liked what we just did. Great, wonderful, wonderful, amazing to see all the responses. Let me go to Q&A. I think some people have answered. I mean, given some chats on to how to tackle with B2BA sheet from GSTR 2B. I mean, one transaction where 118 is now amended to 70.80. How to change? I think doable, but you will have to run that query accordingly. So you will have to take append sheet, then apply certain formulas to ensure that the previous one gets knocked off, etc. I'm not saying not doable, but it's hyper technical and that entire function might take 1 hour time. So I'm not covering that, but absolutely doable, Shirishi. Can we do a matching to be checked query without creating PR only and to be only queries first? Can we do a matching to be checked without running the PR only and to be only? Uh, I see some possibilities, but there would be a lot of workaround. It would be slightly difficult to do that. I will also have to check what I have in mind, whether that's possible or not. You can use the initial two tools and without creating that also you can select some more criteria. But I think the best way is to have those GST only, etc. created. If you want to avoid having those files into your GST, into your Excel sheet, what you can do is you can go to queries and connection and the GSTR 2B only, which is an interim query. यहाँ पे जाके there is some option which says load to. I will click on load to and I will say that create only a connection. Same thing I'm doing for PR only. I'm saying only connection. And I can simply delete these two. It doesn't have data and now no more data will be loaded. I will just delete these two sheets. So my final reconciliation becomes very clear. Same for these purchase register, etc. These purchase register and B2B sheet, actually they were meant only for my reference and calculation. If I want only this sheet as an output, all I can do is I can right click on this load to button and create and select on only create connection. If I do that, then none of these interim working files will get loaded. Only the final reconciliation file will get loaded onto my Excel sheet. So suppose due to some minor mistake in purchase register, say in invoice number, some row is to be changed from GSTR to be only to exact how that can be done. You cannot make any changes to the raw data that you import in Power Query. You can just apply all these functions and do those manipulations. If you want to change that, you'll have to make changes to the raw data. How to respond to cases where invoice number is wrongly recorded. That is where you are performing this reconciliation. You either have to change your base data or you have to change the working file data. If you are saying that when there are errors, say this file contains saying invoice INV dash 7987, whereas the GSTR 2B says INV slash 7987, then also you can create an advanced function in Power Query which only matches the numeric numbers. You can create that function if you want to address that kind of scenario. But what I was trying to essentially do is what you do in a normal Excel VLOOKUP, that cannot be done in Excel VLOOKUP as well. That's an advanced version of VLOOKUP I was trying to show you, which you can do just in a few clicks rather than writing those complex formulas every time and making your sheet very heavy. Time permits, let's see, the web demo is left out recording. I'm not very sure how to respond to cases where invoice number is wrongly recorded, like some clerical errors. Yeah, I've already added that. Very quickly, in next 2 minutes, I have to jump onto another call. Let me in very quickly. I will go to get data. See, there is a website called uh, GST Council, right? Everybody is aware of it. gst.gov.in. Sorry, not GST. I will say GST Council and then GST circulars, right? I'm looking at a tabular data which I can import on a web page. This is a particular web page there where entire data is available of all the circulars, right? I just want to ensure that every time a new circular is added, I can have that into my Excel sheet. I don't have to visit this particular sheet. I will copy this link. I will go to Power Query. I will go to get data. In fact, here itself it says data from web. I will click on from web. Now look at the intelligence of Power Query. You will be amazed by it. I'm pasting the link. I'm not doing anything. I've just pasted the link. It is opening the preview. Just like when we opened the Excel sheet and it opened the preview, it is opening that preview. What asked this question? Jitendra ji, thank you for reminding this. Let us very quickly see. Now, if you see, Power Query is intelligently trying to identify in the web page where are the tables available. So it has identified a few tables. So here I can see a table which says circular number, yes, circular file, date of issue, subject, yes, it is there. Table 2 also, similar table. Table 3, it is there, but not really something that is very helpful. So I think table 1 is something that's relevant. I can click on transform data. I can straight away load that. If I click on load that data, that data is available. Now, next time this website gets updated, all you have to do, or you just have to keep refreshing this on a regular basis, or every time, anyways, you open this sheet, if at all there is any change, it is going to anyways refresh this data. So you don't have to visit the website. If a website has a particular table, you can straight away just give that link to Power Query. It will automatically understand the structure of the table and it will bring it. Only challenge here is that there is a view button available on the website. Under this view button, there is a link to download that circular which is available. That is something that Power Query is not able to bring. That can also be very well done, but we are a little short of time. I will very quickly try to show that. When I click on this source button here, it's there, and I'm saying extract from that particular HTML. There is an option which says you can give examples to Power Query. You will have to do it afresh only. So let me go to data. I will very quickly try to do that, or I might have it ready-made available with me. Yeah, I will just show the ready-made query only. Yeah, here if you see, all the data has also been brought in. So what I'll do is I'll go to data, queries and connection. And I will go to the query. Now I have given those examples. You can select different tables. There is an option when I selected that table at the start of the query, there is also an option where you can add tables by example. So you can, in the web page, you can say that there is an option. You can come here, you can add a column, you can name it something, say I am naming it as circular number, and then I am straight away trying to, if I double click on a row item, it is showing me the entire web page components. All the components that are there, it is showing me. So a circular number, here it is. This is the circular number. I'm clicking OK. I will go down. I will select on the second button also and I'll select OK. because it is already there, and I think I've done it in a reverse format. Let me quickly delete that and come back. Circular number, it should have gone the reverse way. Yeah, see, automatically it has understood, oh, this is what you were trying to say. Fine, done. So same, I can add a column and here I can select those links. So for circular number 250 here, this is the link. Similarly, for circular number 249, there would be some link somewhere. It is trying to find out some different link. This is 248. The moment I do that, it will identify the other links as well. And I will click OK. And it will bring all the links as it is. It has brought all the links into the Power Query window, and I will just click on close and load. And every time I want to just check whether that website is updated or not, I will click on refresh. So that was it from my side. I think all of you would have found this interesting. Any way to connect with me, just type Tapas Rupareliya on link, and you'll see my LinkedIn on Google, and you can connect with me. I don't have that QR code to show around right now. Is there any other question? No, I think everything has been answered. No, I think there's one more question. Yeah, done. I think that was it from my side. Thank you everyone for patient listening. Over to you, WRC team, Nikita ji. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
No, definitely. So on behalf of WRC and all the members present here in this session, I suppose we all have benefited from this session. The Power Query tool which you have introduced for making this financial dashboard, or be it for GST returns and all. I mean, this has carried a value for this session today. I would present a vote of thanks to you. Thank you. And with this, we'll end our session for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind word, ma'am. Thank you everyone for the patient listening. It has been wonderful. Thank you.